Hey, Warren Eckstein here. I'm putting my finishing touches on this article I want to share with you on this weekend. What your dog senses can tell you about your own emotions, and it's more than you can even imagine. Dogs and cats, for that matter, can really help us recognize our own emotional states. Many people who have chronic anxiety may not even be aware that they're walking around in a fight or flight themselves. A dog that is in tune with you exhibits the same stress or fear that you may have, and therefore, if your dog is reacting a certain way or your cat's reacting a certain way, you can take heed and know that something's wrong. It's also important to understand that our pets feed off our energy. I often joke that if I spent 5 or 10 minutes with your dog or your cat, I would probably know a whole lot more about you than you would want me to know. And it's true because they do mirror our personalities. In some cases, they mirror several personalities in the household, and that's where my knowledge really comes into play. But it's important to watch how your pets behave around you. For example, years ago, and this is such an amazing story, I was working with a woman in a very affluent area, Fifth Avenue, New York City, a triplex apartment worth millions and millions of dollars, and she had a little Norwich Terrier. And the terrier was constantly getting anxious when the woman would change her shoes. No other time would the dog show any anxiety, but except when the woman would change her shoes. In fact, it got to the point when she took off one of her shoes, the dog would start chewing on it and become really, really anxious. Well, it turned out that this woman specifically had a lot of pain in one specific foot, and that was the foot that the dog would go to. So the dog was able to pick up that maybe there was something wrong. And the bottom line is, I don't want to drone on about this, but the bottom line was it turned out that the woman had cancer in that foot. And the dog got anxious and actually knew that there was something different, something wrong. The woman went to a doctor and was taken care of and everything was fine. But that's a perfect example about a dog reacting differently than it would normally react if there was no problem. Having worked with so many people over the years with PTSD, veterans and other people with PTSD, people that are in criminal situations. I remember years ago, there's a place in upstate New York called Green Chimneys, and it was a crisis, kind of a farm, but it was a crisis center where children were taken out of homes where they might have seen a suicide in their home, or they might have seen their father kill their mother, or vice versa, but horrible situations. And they were brought into this farm situation in upstate New York, in Brewster, New York. And at that point, there wasn't a whole lot of work being done with dogs to help determine anxiety and stress and problems people have. And they started a situation they're called Assistance Dogs International. They asked me if I would be their instructor, and I said, sure, I want to help as many kids and animals as possible. But what I was doing was not really working directly with the children, but I was teaching PhDs and other behavior people from around the country how to do some of the work I've been doing, and didn't even have a name back then, working with people with anxiety and stress as well. So it's really important to know what your dogs are. And I always tell people, watch your dogs, watch your cats when everything is going fine. Everything's normal, you're watching TV, reruns of Seinfeld are on, you're having a nice snack, popcorn, whatever. Watch how your pets behave. And then if you notice changes in their behavior, first of all, you want to look and say, well, are they okay? But if they seem okay and they seem fine and there's no problem, the vet says they're wonderful, then maybe it's some changes that are going on with you that you're not aware of. Are you depressed? I've seen situations where dogs have literally reacted with that one member of the family in such a severe way that other members of the family said, we better take a look at this. And it turned out that that person had such severe depression that suicide was on their mind. Not that I'm worried about you committing suicide, but be aware of it. Be aware of the fact that changes in your behavior go from one end of the leash to the other end of the leash. So if you notice that all of a sudden your dog is really, really, he's been sitting on your lap and licking you and friendly, you love each other and schmooze each other, but then all of a sudden when you sit down, he's coming over for a little while, but then he's leaving, maybe it's not a problem with the dog, maybe it's a problem with you. So the first thing I want you to do, if you notice changes in your dog or cat's behavior when he's around you, if his behavior is normal around other people, but it's not normal around you, then there might be an indication that something's going wrong. But you want to have your dog or cat checked first, make sure there's no physiological reasons for him reacting differently. Once you've got that clear, then maybe it's time to have a conversation with yourself and a conversation with your own doctor and say, listen, I know this, and doctors are going to say, Warren, come on. But I know this may sound a little crazy to people, but hear me out on this. If your dog's behavior or if your cat's behavior is changing around you and the dog is fine, then the only variable is your behavior. And remember, dogs don't see with their eyes, dogs see with their nose. And all of those anxiety and stress, all of those things present a different scent on the human body that we don't determine, but our dogs can. So the most important thing I want to stress is here, and let me give you a personal basis. In 1990, I lost my wife, Faye. She was 36 years old, died of melanoma very rapidly within a period of a few months. At that time, I had 30 dogs, 15 cats, two 1,200-pound pigs, chickens, Oreo, my guinea pig, and my snake Gomer. Had a little sanctuary in upstate New York. And of course, being married for 19 years to Faye, who I had known since she was 12 years old, was devastating to me. And I noticed that my animals, including the pigs, the chickens, all of them, seemed to be more, what's the word I'm looking for? More attached to me. They would spend more time, not that they didn't spend a lot of time, but they spend more time. They want to be on top of me, cuddling me. They knew, and I'll argue this to my death, they knew that I was going through a major depression, that I was having trouble dealing with what I was going with. And it was their change in their behavior that made me look at my own behavior and actually seek out some help to get through it. So don't think this is funny. Don't think this is a joke. But in reality, if you notice a change in your dog or cat's behavior around you and no other changes and they appear healthy, maybe it's time to call your doctor and make sure everything's okay. Hey, don't miss the Pet Show on Saturday. We'll talk more about this, answer all of your pet and animal questions, and check out the Hugs and Kisses vitamin mineral supplements, now a choice at Amazon.com. One more next time. Talk to you on the weekend.